They never abandoned you. They showed up, they provided, they said, "I love you." So why does something still feel broken inside you? Why do you shrink when someone raises their voice? Why do you feel guilty asking for help? Why does love still feel like something you have to earn? You're not dramatic. You're not ungrateful. Because here's what nobody tells you. You can be loved and emotionally wounded at the same time. Think about a child who grew up in a home where nothing was technically wrong. Her parents worked hard, provided everything. But whenever she cried, her mother sighed and said, "You're so sensitive." Whenever she was scared, her father said, "Stop being dramatic." Nobody called it abuse, because it wasn't. But she learned something early. She learned her emotions were too much. That to keep being loved, she needed to make herself smaller. So she became the easy child, the one who never complained, and everyone praised her for it. What they didn't see was that she was quietly disappearing. Maybe that child was you. There's a simple term for this: emotional invalidation. It doesn't require cruelty. It just means your feelings were consistently treated as wrong, too big, or inconvenient. Your parents didn't have to be monsters for this to happen. They were just people who were never taught how to sit with big emotions themselves, raised by parents who were raised the same way. And here's what that does to a child. You don't think, "My parent is wrong." You think, "I am wrong." Because your parents are your entire world. They're the mirror you use to understand yourself. And if that mirror keeps reflecting back, "Too much, too needy," you believe it. You carry it into every relationship you ever have. This is the wound that leaves no visible scar. Now pause for a moment. Do you over-explain yourself? Apologize before you've done anything wrong? Work twice as hard to make sure people don't leave? That's not a personality quirk. That's a survival strategy you built before you even had words for it. You learned that love requires performance, and you've been performing ever since. Or maybe your wound is different. Maybe your parents were emotionally absent even while physically present. You could talk to them but never feel truly heard. So you stopped sharing, and then you stopped expecting to be heard by anyone. You became an expert at holding space for everyone, except yourself. Here's the twist. Your parents were probably doing the best they could with what they had. That doesn't erase the emptiness, the flinching, the chronic self-doubt. It doesn't mean you weren't hurt, but it means the wound was never about your worth. You weren't too much. You weren't too sensitive. You were a child who needed something the adults around you didn't know how to give. Not because you didn't deserve it, but because nobody had given it to them either. The cycle was older than you. You were just born into the middle of it. Every time you over-apologize, choose someone who needs fixing over someone who simply loves you, or feel guilty for having needs at all. That's not who you are. That's what you learned to be. There is a difference, and that difference is everything. Because what was learned can be unlearned. The first step isn't a specific tool or technique. It's simply this: believing that the story you were given about yourself, too much, not enough, too sensitive, was never the truth. It was the story of someone else's limitation, and you've been living inside it for far too long. You deserve to be heard when you were small. That's a real loss worth grieving. But you are not the wounds you carry. You are the person who survived them. And that is the beginning of something completely different.